Okay, so I'm going to start with this geometry exercise from the beginning, and just to remind you, if you haven't got this file, I'll show you that in a minute. So I'm just going to get the file initially on the P drive in Interior Design, CAD 1, and then week 1 you'll find this CAD geometry PDF file, and so you can always get the notes from there if you haven't printed them out. And so here, I've switched the view to clockwise. I'll just rotate it back counterclockwise so that I can then go down through the steps and move on to the first part. So you can read through all of this if you haven't already, just to give you a better idea about saving and basic file management. And then the first steps for exercise 1 begin at the bottom of page 4 there. And then really the step-by-step instructions continue on the next page, where you can see at the top of page 5 you've got the first step for drawing the border. And so, and also I better show you just to open AutoCAD. On the desktop here we've got AutoCAD 2014 English. There are also others, AutoCAD Architecture and Raster Design. You don't need those at first. Whenever you're trying to use AutoCAD initially, just try and go for the most plain version you can. And that's what we have here, AutoCAD 2014 English. And when you start it up, it should look something like this. So that's going to give you a new file. You can always begin another new file by going to the main menu, choosing New, and then you'll see a list of templates. I'd recommend you just use AutoCAD ISO every time. So ISO is the International Standards Organisation, and that usually is going to be set up for metric countries, as opposed to the American system where they still use feet and inches. So I'll double click on that to make another file, and you'll see here I've now got drawing 1 and drawing 2. They're both blank files. Also, I'm going to go onto the workspaces selector at the top, where you can see it's got drafting and annotation. And I'm going to go to AutoCAD Classic, which would, and that'll give me the menus so that we can follow through the steps the way they're written in the notes. And so you'll always have that option in AutoCAD to go back to essentially the older version. This is the way AutoCAD has been set up for years, using menus and toolbars. With the newer approach that you have with drafting and annotation, it uses tabs, and you still have all the same commands, they're just in different places on these tabs here. So at first it's not a bad idea to start with AutoCAD Classic, because then you start using the program the way people have for decades, and it is a good way of getting used to the tools. These palettes that come up you can just close, you don't need them initially, so I'm going to close that palette and this floating toolbar, and I've got a blank screen where I'll then I'll just make this window a bit smaller so we can see the PDF file over to one side. I'll just make that a bit bigger. Okay, so I'm ready to go in AutoCAD. You can see, looking in the notes here, the first step is to go to the Draw menu and then choose Rectangle. So I'll do that just on Draw, and then Rectangle. I'm going to type in then the first coordinate that I'm given, 0, 0. So 0, once you press comma, you'll see it'll move to the next box in my little field coming up next to the cursor there. I'll type 0 again, enter, and now I can zoom using the wheel on the mouse, and then that's done by rolling the wheel backwards and forwards to zoom. To pan, you can hold the wheel down. If you don't know, the wheel is a button on a PC. It's a bit different on a Mac, but on a PC it's always going to work as a button, and so you can pan that way just to see left and right, up and down the rest of the drawing. And I'm still drawing my rectangle, so I need to give the second corner, which is this coordinate here, 27500, comma 19,000. And you can see if you don't see it on your cursor, the coordinates aren't coming up there, but they're coming in on the command line down the bottom. So you can always look on the command line to see what's happening. So I'm going to press enter now, and I know that's worked. It's drawn my rectangle, but you may not see it. So, well, if you go to zoom, you'll see it'll only zoom out so far. So you'll see the next step on the in the notes. No. So just repeat that. Just undo and then repeat it if it doesn't seem right. So the yep, and just repeat those same steps. Okay, so I'm going to go now to the view menu and choose this next command: view, zoom, and then extends. Which is essentially like fit to page. It's only going to work if the rectangle's drawn the right size. And that'll zoom out to something that should look basically like an A4 page. Okay, so I'll just keep going, and then if you've missed any of those steps, don't worry too much. You can go over that again. And so now I want to give some thickness to that polyline. And this time, you can see in the notes, it says you can go to the Modify menu, choose Object, and then Polyline. So here, Modify, and then under Object, choose Polyline. And then click anywhere on the rectangle. So it has to be on the border, not inside or outside, just right on the edge of that line. And then Modify, Object, and then Polyline. Okay, and so then you can see the next step is to type W and then enter. When you see the little arrow at an angle like this, that means press enter. So W, enter, and then type in the width 200. So if you have a look on the command line now, you'll see that it's giving me the history in grey, and then the white line at the bottom tells me what's happening at this step. So it's prompting me for a width. I've typed 200 in, so when I press enter, that's going to go in on the command line. And then finally, to finish it, you can just press enter again to complete the command. So I'll do that now, enter, and it's finished that command, and it's asking me for a new command. So that's a common thing in AutoCAD, keeping an eye on the command prompt to see again where you're at with each command, and if it's ready for a new command.